the water was so deep. It was just going right through the intakes. So
you're almost like handlebar, triple clamp height water.
Yes.
Oh, geez.
It was wild. And so we take the air filter out, and he lifts it up, and there's just water pouring out of my air filter. And I was like, oh no, I'm not going to finish. So we just squeezed the water out of the air filter. The bike started up without the air filter, and then we just stuck the air filter back on, and he's like, don't let it stall.
Podcast. Yeah, welcome to another episode of the Racer X Exhaust Podcast. I am Jason Weigandt. This is a special episode. We get into the off season, and I'm allowed to talk about other racing series, and I love the intriguing stories. It doesn't matter if it's, in this case, GNCC, or if it's road racing or flat track, all other types of racing that I do cover. The stories are often more intriguing in these other series because, again, the riders don't have to be nearly as filtered because they don't get run through the ringer on social media and have every word dissected by the fans. They usually don't really know better. They just tell you what they think. So today we're going to get perspective from our GNCC WXC, that's women's champion Becca Sheets, who has won the women's title for the last 2 years and is now going into retirement. We'll learn about her background, how she got into GNCC, how difficult it was to win this title a second year, because she actually was planning on retiring after last year, but Yamaha wanted her to come back and run the #1 plate. She'll explain all that. I think she's a really cool personality too. We're going to miss Becca at the races as she moves away from the industry completely. But I think it's a really good story. So I encourage you to listen. I'm Jason Weigandt. This is Racer X. This is, of course, brought to you by Yoshimura, longtime sponsor of our pod. So Yoshimura got the RS12 exhaust system. Maybe you ride a Yamaha like Becca Sheets does. You can get an RS12 for that, be it a 250 or 450. RS12 is also available for Hondas. You got the new CRF 250R for 2022. Exhaust systems can be ordered for that. If you got a 450, they're already available. Same thing if you have a Suzuki, a Kawasaki, a KTM, a Gas, a Husqvarna. Go to Yoshimura-rd.com for your exhaust system needs. Also brought to you by Cardo Systems. We talk about it every week. Rider to coach, coach to rider, mechanic to rider, rider to rider. The communicating system, highly underrated, what it allows you to do if you're coaching someone, if you're riding with a buddy. It also helps if you're at a race and your mechanic can communicate with you. I don't believe it's legal in professional AMA racing. They have allowed it, though, during the Monster Energy Cup. I think that could be back someday. And with that, maybe radio communication will be back as well. It's legal for you, though, so go to cardosystems.com and get 15% off your order. Type in RX15 at the checkout code, and we'll give you 15% off. But that order excludes Pack Talk Black. But everything else, they're all good. They're all waterproof, dustproof. They have mesh communication for very clear sound, Bluetooth enabled. Go to cardosystems.com. And brought to you by OnX Maps. 500,000 miles of trails have been mapped out for you, public and private land, be it dirt bike trails, mountain bike trails, running, hiking, lots of outdoor activities. It actually was developed originally as a hunting app, so it works very well for that. Go to OnX Off-Road in the App Store to see the Off-Roaders edition, or onxmaps.com to learn more about it. One of the coolest parts about the OnX Maps, not only will you find trails that you won't find on other apps, but also you can download them so they're available even when you're out of cell service, which is kind of going to happen. If you're on enough trails often enough, you're probably going to run out of cell service. So go to onxmaps.com, tell them that Racer X sent you. Now let's chat with Becca Sheets. Okay, we have Becca Sheets with us here. So I don't even know where to start. I guess the first thing I had to start was it's the end. You're retiring? What is going on here? This is, you won the title. We'll get into all that, but you're done as a racer? What is happening?
Done as a racer. I just, it's been a couple years that I've been wanting to be done, but, you know, I just been racing for 21 years and my body's getting more fragile by the year. And, you know, I just want to be able to walk around when I'm older. So I just feel like I'm in a pretty good place to call it quits and just ride for fun on the weekends.
It's kind of good, though. I think like most of the time when someone retires, it's because of something huge or massive, like the injuries are really bad or they don't have the support. Heck, you're a female, you could even be like, I just want to be a mom or something like that. No, you were just, I'm on top, I'm good, I've done enough, I'm just good. That's really all it is.
Yes, I'm so thankful to be like literally walking away, because just kind of even as this season came to an end, I was like, please just do not get hurt.
Oh,
Don't make any crazy risks on the dirt bike. Just take it easy. And yeah, I mean, I do want to be a mom someday, but you know, I just want to be able to walk away when I'm in a good position.
yeah. That's not why you don't have a pregnancy announcement here. That has nothing. You're just done as a
Nope.
racer. Yeah.
That was pretty funny though.
Did you know all year then? Was that clearly by the end of the year, it was in the back of your mind? Like, don't screw this up now. Was that all year? This is the last year? Was that the plan?
Yep. Actually, in 2020, I started the season and said, this is my last year.
Mm-hmm.
But we had just gotten back on the Yamaha from KTM, and like I was riding the Yamaha so good and the season was going so well. And, you know, by the time I wrapped it up, Steve at Yamaha was like, can you just go another year and so we can have the #1 plate on the Yamaha out there? And I was like, okay, like he didn't have to pull my leg too hard. Because I love racing. So it was hard to say no, but I was like, okay, this is the last one though. This is it. So
That's
yeah.
good. That's good to know though. So I think a lot of people wonder where the level is. You're not just riding a Yamaha, but higher ups at Yamaha, Steve Nessel, very important. He's supporting your program. He wants you to race. They're looking at WXC and GNCC as a big program for them. Like they are paying attention to what you're doing.
Yeah. So in 2016, I won a championship on a Yamaha, and they weren't willing to up my support in any way. And that was when KTM kind of stepped in and gave me a nice deal. And but so it was crazy. And I was on these KTMs just kind of like, I just couldn't put it together on those bikes. And my buddy, I don't know, Tyler, my husband, he said after 6 days in Portugal, we're sitting in the airport and we're like deprived of sleep. And he's like, I think you should ride a Yamaha. And I was like, no way. Like, you know, I'll never go back to Yamaha, because I was like, KTM's the best. And that was just what I always told myself. And my buddy, my suspension guy, actually, he was like, I'm actually buying a Yamaha. I can go buy it now and you can ride it and test it out. And I was like, okay. So once I just threw my leg over the Yamaha, and within 2 minutes, I felt just at home. And so we didn't even know if Yamaha would be willing to support. And luckily, Johnny Gallagher has his connections, and I've maintained a relationship with the guys at Yamaha, doing commercials and stuff with them. And Steve was more than willing to help us out. And we kind of did it through the, what do we call it? It wasn't through Donnie Luce with the racing program. It was through the marketing, essentially. And he was gracious enough to give us some of his budget, and we just rolled with it.
That's cool. Because, you know, look, on the motocross side, it's been real rough for the females to get support. So whether it's marketing or racing, whatever it is, it's good to know that, okay, these manufacturers to some degree care. I know they're probably not giving you $1 million, but they're interested in your program.
Yeah. It was I mean, he definitely saw value in me. And Yamaha still, like the racing program, has Rachel Archer riding for the AM Pro team. And so it was just really cool that they're willing to kind of double up and make it happen.
Yeah. So Rachel Archer, it was a U1 title. Taylor Jones comes in as well for a while, but then Rachel, who's from New Zealand, right? She's been up in her game. You guys had like an epic battle this year, right?
Yeah, we had. So at the end of last year, she was definitely growing all season last year, and she got good. And I had a rough after the summer break. I was having a rough time with some things at home, and she was killing it. And it was great for her, because I'm sure it built up her confidence. And she came into the season saying, like, I have a championship to win. And I knew she was motivated, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be hard. That's why, like, at the end of last season, I asked Steve, I was like, can I just get paid and race for like 5th place? Cause like, I don't really know if I want to push my limits to, win another championship. But Rachel, she rode so awesome this year. She won the first round. I won the second. We just kind of went back and forth all season. And it was always just a kind of a question, who was going to be on top. And it was so fun to battle with her all year, especially both being on a Yamaha.
Yeah. So even though you were battling and it was close, it was actually pretty cool between the two of you.
Yeah, she's young. I think she's only 19. And I didn't start racing GNCC until I was 18. So she definitely has, I don't know her very well. I just try to be kind to her and have good sportsmanship with her. But she's young and she's got that fire in her, she's got something to prove. And she's definitely been putting in the work. And so I think she's definitely going to be one to watch in the coming years.
Yeah. So you mentioned, hey, it would be awesome if I could just get 5th. So it's just like when we hear, Ben Kelly at the end of a race and he is spent, he is exhausted, he's done. They're taking huge risks. They're pushing their bodies to the limit. So are those the same things, the 2-hour races to win the overall in the women's class? Are you basically going to your limit risk-wise and also fatigue-wise?
Not necessarily fatigue-wise, but last year I just felt like we were going so fast. And I was just thinking about it. I'm like, it's crazy. Like, we are going so fast. If we make one mistake and it just sends us into a tree the wrong way, you snap your leg and you're done. And like, I just was kind of getting to that fear point of not willing to push my limits. But this season was kind of different. I felt comfortable because I had a whole season on Yamaha. So I felt comfortable going into this one. And I trained all winter down at Caleb's Ranch Russell, and he just kind of prepped us for the season. And I felt okay all year. I didn't feel like I was taking too many risks, and I just really felt comfortable. Even when I was close battling with Rachel, I had a very calm mind when I would battle with her. And most of the races that I won were, it wasn't too risky. I just kind of waited for my opportunity to take the lead and finish in the lead, just race tactics. But I felt a lot less risky this year, honestly.
Well, shoot, then you might as well come back. Might as well try to.
We made a joke like, what if I just came back and raced the Sportsman A and then just battled for the overalls? Like, I'm not racing WXC, but I'm racing you guys still. But no. That's right. Yeah, I just, I want to just kind of slow life down a little bit because, we've been traveling for a long time, and I love doing it, and I don't know what it's going to be like without all that travel, but yeah, I just want to slow it down.
We talked way back in the day when you won the title for the first time, and I think you still had like a super regular job, right? Did you get past that? Like, were you full-time racer eventually?
Yes, in 2016 when I won, I was working a full-time job at a forklift company. I was their parts person, and it was crazy. I would take my bike with me to work, and on my way home from work, I'd stop and ride, or I would take my bicycle and go cycle after work. It was just one or the other. There was never time to do all of it in one day, and we won. And so the next year when I got set up at KTM, I was like, I think I can quit my job, because with my full-time job, and even in 2016, just with racing, I made a pretty good amount of money because of my full-time job adding to it. And so I don't know, we just took the risk I quit my job, and it was so weird at first. I was like, first of all, I was like, how did I ever have a job, for one? Yeah. And then also I'm like, okay, what do I do with all this spare time? Like, I don't know. It was just a really hard balance to kind of figure out, because I'd never had to not work.
Yeah, I know. Because everyone thinks like if they win the lottery tomorrow, it'll be awesome because they don't have to do anything. But when you wake up in the morning, and you have a wide open schedule, it is weird. It is weird at first, at least.
Yeah, it is weird. And, for women, we don't get paid a lump sum salary that's going to cover us for the whole year. We get paid on our results. And so that was just it's just a kind of stressful way to live, right. Like, you have to do good on your dirt bike or you're not going to make any money. So it's a weird way to live.
Right. So if you get hurt, if you break your arm and you miss 2 months of racing, you're done as far as making money then.
Yep, no money. So in 2018, I broke my jaw and I was off. Luckily, it was only about a month. I think I only missed one race because it went into summer break. And or it was snowshoe. Was it snowshoe before summer break? I don't
Summer
know.
break time. That's generally around
I think
that
I only
time.
missed one race, so that was pretty lucky. That was a lucky injury.
Yeah. So do you even have a plan of what you're going to do now? Do you go back to the forklift place? Do you give them a call?
No, it was funny because back when I was working there, I was just like, I have to go to college so that I don't end up here for the rest of my life. That was what I thought at that time. But I was still young. I think I was 23 when I quit that job. And no, I don't have a solid plan, but I have a lot of options. One summer I worked on this produce farm with like a local friend, and she was super awesome, and I really enjoyed working on the farm. And like all year I've kind of been thinking about, okay, maybe I'll do a food truck. I would like to take healthy food, especially to the races, because they only offer junk food. I'm like, what if I could offer like race food, fuel for people to just get through the weekend and not slow them down. And I really do like that idea, but it kind of transitioned to like, I want to grow my own food. And so I think maybe someday I might have a food truck or maybe a cafe, but it's just kind of like a background thing. Right now, I really want to learn, like I want a garden. I want a huge garden, and I want to make plants and give them to my family and, local people around here, just good quality produce. And so obviously I don't have any land here at my house. We live on an acre. So I don't know, I might go back to Becky's farm and see if I can be her ranch hand for a couple of years and learn a bunch along the way. Cause I don't really know anything about farming. So it's just kind of all up in the air right now.
Wait, she's also Becky? Becky and Becky?
Becky, yes.
The name on the food truck, it's almost going to write itself once you get this all figured out. 2 Beckys in a truck or something like that.
Yeah.
Are you, I'm assuming, look, you've ridden your whole life. You're not going to completely be able to put that down, I would think, right?
No, I don't think so. Well, I think there will always be dirt bikes in the garage, and I don't know. I really look forward to just going to ride without any pressure of don't get hurt. You don't have to go fast, and you don't have to practice your technique. Like all you have to do is just go ride and enjoy yourself. So I'll always ride. I might sell a couple of my bikes and trade them in for dual sports so we can, go a little farther, go the distance.
Nothing wrong with that. That's usually what people say they do when they get older. You're just like, you just aged more quickly on the riding part than other people.
Yeah.
Because you've already done so much. Hey, like looking behind you, so you have Loretta's bibs and you have ISDE stuff, obviously GNCC stuff as well. Were you more moto in your younger days with the Lorettas?
Yep, I grew up racing motocross from the time I was 7 to 18, basically.
Okay.
And the first time I went to Loretta's was in 2004. I was on the 65, and I think I missed 2005, and then I went 2006 and 7. And then I broke my back in 2008 trying to qualify. And so we recovered from that. And then we went back in 2009 for the first time on a big bike. And that was what we did. But even back in 2009, the women's motocross was just kind of slowly fading out. And we grew up, like growing up racing with my dad, we never had a lot of money. He never sent me to any training facilities. We only did what we could. And so it wasn't really in the cards for me to become a pro motocross. Like it just was like totally disappearing. I was like, I'm going to have to go to college, get a career started. I don't know what I'll do. Maybe physical therapy, since I've done so much of it in my life. But then I met Walker Fowler. Well, I had known him a couple years before I started GNCC, and I started dating Walker Fowler, and he just kind of roped me into GNCC. And that's just kind of how it started. And I loved the woods. When I first raced, it was the John Penton race, and it was like 100 some degrees. I didn't race with a Camelback. And I was like, I don't need that.
Yeah.
And I stopped every lap for water. I was so thirsty. And yeah, I tell this story all the time. I got lapped like by the leader, Maria Forsberg. And yeah, I don't know. It was so hard, but I was like, this is awesome. I'm going to keep doing this.
It's crazy. So eventually you gained an entire lap worth of speed, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
That's nuts. And so there was a time at the GNCCs where you were, oh, that's Walker Fowler's girlfriend. That's what you were. You were Walker Fowler's girlfriend. And then eventually you just became the racer yourself.
Yes, I just became myself.
That's pretty funny.
It is very funny, but you know, if it wasn't for Walker and his family, they kind of just took me in, and I lived up there with Walker because they had property to ride, and I learned how to ride the woods with quad riders, like, which was kind of perfect because if you go ride somebody's practice track, like a dirt biker, you know, their track is just one line. And, but I got to learn on a track similar to what we'd race in GNCC. I would ride after we race after the quads. And so that was what I practiced on. And I remember Chris Bach came up to Walker's place one time, and he was teaching me how to transition the quad ruts better to make it smoother. And yeah, I learned a lot in those years.
No, it's so true. It's one of the unique things of GNCC, right? Where your track is really based on what the quads burned in the day before. Yeah. Then everybody wants to practice on, they don't want to practice on that. So they end up not practicing on terrain that's really like the race. Then you get to the race and you struggle. Yeah. So I don't know if you planned it that way, but it probably did work out for the best to ride like that.
No, I did not plan it that way. But yeah. And then once I moved back home, that was kind of when I got linked in with more dirt bike guys, like some faster local guys that really just taught me how to carry my speed, and it just kind of elevated.
What's funny though, there was one GNCC way back. I think we had the ATVs raced. Then there was really bad weather Saturday night, and then they didn't race the bike Sunday. So like 2 months later, we went back to have a bike only race. And everybody was like, this is our dream. It's all we ever wanted. We're finally going to have a race without the quad ruts. And nobody liked it because they had not realized how many passing lines get opened up by the quads. And it was so tight, no one could pass. So there you go. The quads are okay.
Yep, the quads are okay. I mean, that's what makes GNCC. Like, they pave the track for us, those quad riders, and you just take whatever's left.
You know what's people probably don't remember though, Walker Fowler was a great bike rider as well. He won the youth title, he was doing both actually when he first got onto big bikes. People probably don't remember that he's not too bad on a dirt bike. He could have been in the XC1 class. He probably would have eventually. Yeah.
I actually met Walker when we were at a FCA motocross camp, and he was on his dirt bike. So I didn't even know he was a quad racer.
Yeah, exactly.
At the time. Yeah, he definitely, he raced dirt bikes a couple times back in those years, and just for fun. And he looks so funny. Like, he looks like a quad rider when he rides a dirt bike. Oh no,
it's gone away. He's become full quad. Yeah, there was a time where Walker was a great youth dirt bike racer, asking us if we could have youth quad races, because he swore he was better on a quad than a bike. But no one at GNCC had ever even seen him on four wheels. He was a bike guy, just like Caleb, just like Corey Buttrick. Absolutely. He was the youth overall bike champ. So
that's awesome. They didn't have youth quads back then?
No, it was him and his dad. Danny really kind of pitched us. They brought quads to the Ironman in 2006 or something, and said, we swear these quads can do this track. Let us do a quad series. And it's because of the Fowlers, literally, that we have youth quads. And then he won every race for the next 3 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So pretty handy on a bike. So you don't know what you're doing next. You'll still have dirt bikes. I want to ask what it's like in these morning races, because look, the pro guys in the afternoon, they complain about lappers. But dude, they're dealing with the B riders. I race 1 or 2 of these a year myself. You guys are dealing with people like me, and you're battling for the win. It has to be so gnarly. You have people that probably don't ride all year long and just ride one time in a GNCC, and you are lapping them, and you're making your living in these races. What is that experience like out there in the morning race?
Chaos.
Okay.
For it. Yeah. It was actually, I think on Instagram, somebody was like, can't wait to race my first GNCC. And I was like, no, please don't.
It's so true.
Yeah, there's so many people, but that's what's cool about GNCC. Like, if you want to try it out, you can just jump in, and, that is also part of what makes it so special in our race. Like, we have to be good enough and wise enough to battle with these lappers, and a lot of times it'll bite you, you know, like you'll go to pass, especially if it's a mud race or something technical, you'll go to pass somebody who you think you have plenty of room, and the lapper will just plow into you, and
right,
you know, things like that. I've had a lot of encounters, and probably a lot of mean encounters on my part. Like, I probably wasn't being nice enough or giving enough time. Like those guys are just out there trying to have fun, and we're just trying to get around and not get compromised. But that's part of the game in the morning race. You gotta know how to battle those people and get around them. And it always helps when you're in second place, because you get a little bit of, you know, let the leader do the work. They say, hey, we're coming, and then they just pull over, and you're like, easy.
Dude, I know. I'm on the other end of it. So like for me, when I race a GNCC, like the first 2 or 3 laps is a totally different race. There's the laps where I'm trying to pass people. And then whenever you or Rachel or Taylor Jones or back in the day, Jessica Patterson used to take me out all the time. When you guys get to me, when you gals get to me, then I'm like, now it's changed. Now I've got to get out of people's way, because I don't want to be the one ruining everything. So yeah, I know how important that is. But yeah, I'm sure other people probably don't know what's going on. You're just blowing by them, and they're, you know, it's probably hitting them by surprise. It's gotta be tough. Yeah.
Sometimes it's also like, you don't want to scare them too bad. Like, you gotta give them a gentle approach as you're coming in. You don't want them to freak out and hit a tree or something. But
only make it worse for you. That's right.
Yes. It's definitely a challenge.
Real quick, interrupt the podcast here with Becca Sheets. Just to remind you of Yoshimura, go to yoshimura-rd.com. Obviously, they have great exhaust systems for dirt bikes. You see them proven in races all the time. I got a Jet Lawrence poster right over my head here if you're watching on YouTube. But they're also quite proficient when it comes to the world of street bikes. In fact, really, that's their heritage. So if you have a street legal bike, especially like a Honda Grom, something like that, they've got it for you. So go to yoshimura-rd.com. Also, we encourage you to subscribe to Racer X, the print edition of the magazine. Will give you access to everything digitally as well. You can read it right on the website, all the stuff that's in the print magazine, only $30 a year for 12 issues. And we'll give you a bunch of goodies as well. In fact, I'm going to look this up while I also mention OnX Maps. You can go to onxmaps.com to learn more about OnX Maps and where you can find trails where you want to ride, be it a mountain bike, be it a dirt bike. And then also, Cardo Systems, highly underrated. I think it would change your entire riding experience if you got the Cardo Systems and you could communicate with someone while you're at the track. So go to cardosystems.com. And if you want to subscribe to Racer X, do it now. We'll give you 3 bonus gifts. We will give you our 2022 Racer X calendar, which you'll have before January 1st. But more importantly, we'll give you a $25 Rocky Mountain ATV MC gift card. It only costs $30 to get the subscription. And we'll give you a gift subscription that you can give to a friend. Easy Christmas gift that's not going to be stuck at a shipping port somewhere. So go to racerxonline.com/Weege, subscribe to the mag, get the calendar, get a gift subscription for a friend, and get a $25 gift card for spending just $30. Back to the podcast. Overall, so GNCC wasn't on your radar. It eventually became that way. Oh, and then you did ISDE. So then you ended up doing a bunch of other off-road stuff as well?
Yeah. Once we got on with KTM, Auntie was like, so do you want to do ISD? And I'm like, I don't know, because people had talked to me about it in the past. They're, you would be so good at ISD with your motocross background. You have good corner speed. And I'm like, I'm not going to ISD unless someone pays my whole way there, because I knew that it took a bunch of fundraising and all this stuff. And so the first year I rode KTM, Auntie was like, I'm taking over the women's team and we're paving the way for you. So that was really awesome. And we just kind of jumped on the opportunity. And that first year was in France. And then we did Chile and Portugal. And so that was 3 years in a row. And it is like every year that I went, I was like, I'm never doing this again.
Yeah, the bike maintenance. Did you have that part down, or did you have to learn some of that, changing tires and whatnot?
We definitely I had to learn how to change tires. I knew how to change tires, but like the Rabaconda thing, I didn't really know. You know, my tire change might take me an hour at home by myself.
Yeah.
And so the first year, Auntie was like, okay, you have to practice your tire changes. And I'm like, okay. And I didn't practice any of them. And I struggled the first year so bad. So when we went back for Chile, and Portugal. We just made sure to have every move you do on the Rabicondo, we had it down pat. So tires no longer was a stressful thing to approach at the end of the day. You know, I'm pretty mechanically okay. I've learned a lot. So that really wasn't too hard for us. It's just the stress of surviving the transfer trails.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why? Wow. I thought those were supposed that it's not won and lost you feel on the special test. It's more of don't screw it up on the long parts.
Yeah, because you are responsible for getting place to place. And if you're not there, you're not going to be doing well in the race. So we were warned before 6 days, like sometimes the transfers are harder than the tests. And like you're just out in the mountains in a foreign country. Some of it was cool. Like I remember being in France and I was just like, wow, look at all these cows and like looking around, having a good old time. And I remember just getting passed on transfers. Like everybody was flying and I'm like, why is everyone going so fast? We're supposed to do the speed limit. We should have plenty of time. And so I had to quickly learn, like, you don't follow the speed limit. You don't follow the rules. You just pin it on the transfers. And so in that way, it just becomes stressful because you don't know the trail in any way. And I just remember being on a bunch of like massive cliff sides. And in Chile, we were on these gnarly mountains with cactuses, like complete 180-degree turns with cactuses on the insides and rock off camber slides. And it's just gnarly stuff. And in Chile, Tara Geiger, she went off that exact thing I'm talking about, the cactus on the inside or the off camber rocks. She decided not to run into the cactus. So she went to the off camber rocks and just went right off the side into the trees. And it took like 3 or 4 of us to pull her bike up. And like, luckily the other girls from the other countries, like we're just in a situation like that. You just have to help people. And so we got her pulled up, but it's just stressful. And
it really can happen. Like what you're looking at, you're like, man, what if that happened? It really can happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it teaches you a lot though. It just teaches you to be wise in every move you make on the dirt bike.
Yeah, I'm sure. Right.
Yeah.
Hey, the women's team usually does well. Were you on one of the winning teams? Did you win one of those 3 years or a couple?
Yeah, we won in Portugal the third year.
Yep.
And it was awesome because Auntie at the beginning of the 3 years, he's like, okay, I have a 3-year plan and you should be winning by the 3rd year.
Wow.
Because Australia with Taylor Jones and Jessica, like the Australian team had been so good, undefeated for a long time. And it was our goal to take them down. And we got that opportunity in Portugal. So it was really awesome. And Auntie was like, okay, are you going to go next year to defend it? And I'm like,
oh,
nope, that's it. I won. Our job is complete.
Oh, that's hey, you're proving yourself again. You stick with it when you're able to walk away.
Yeah, we want to go out on top from 6 days.
That's right. Help me with this part. Did you get married like at a race or during the season or something? I just saw something pop up on Instagram and I'm like, is that what I'm thinking it is? Yeah. Is that what it was? You got married?
Yeah, we got married at the Penton. Well, it wasn't at the Penton track, but it was just down the road. I knew there was a covered bridge there. And I asked the track pastor if he would marry us at the next race. And he was like, okay, no problem. And it was perfect because it was just Friday. Like nobody really knew, just my family came. It was just a small crowd. And Pastor Chuck actually ended up breaking down in his motorhome on his way to the race.
Oh no.
And so we were FaceTiming him under the covered bridge for our wedding. And it was really cool.
Does that count? That's official? That does count, right?
I think so.
Okay.
I think we're married still.
Okay. Team Faith. That was Team Faith, right?
Team Faith. Yes, Chuck. Yep.
Is that your home race? You're from Ohio, right? Is that like your local, no, not local, but home-ish race?
Yep. That is only an hour away from my house. So it's the best one.
Okay. Well, congrats on that. Like I said, I saw on Instagram, I'm like, wow, that came out of nowhere.
It did. It did come out of nowhere.
Cool. Yeah, good for you. All right. So you mentioned one thing here that I didn't know. You said commercials or something like that for Yamaha. Do you have some other industry stuff that you do that we might not even realize?
It was just the one time.
Oh, that's cool though.
Yeah. It wasn't, I think it was 2019. Mm-hmm. Yamaha was coming out with the XTR Wolverine. It was like the special edition thing.
Yep.
And, Johnny was involved in being they call it talent,
Oh,
driving
okay.
or whatever. And so Johnny was like, you want to come do this? We'll be down at Brimstone in Tennessee and you'll get paid. And I was like, okay, but I was still riding KTM. So I was like, hey, Auntie, do you care if I do this so I can make money, please? And he was like, no problem. So it was cool. There was no dirt bikes. It was just quads and side-by-sides. And so I was the action rider on the utility quad. And
Whoa.
yep, I was the passenger in the Wolverine side-by-sides. And they came out with like the GPS thing that they put in there. And I'm not a good advertiser because I don't remember what it's called. But me and Johnny were like at the waterfall, like acting like we're navigating through the woods. And it was so cool because like the whole next year we saw us in the commercials. It was pretty fun.
That's hilarious. Hey,
Yeah.
so when you're riding the quad in it, was it like, oh, we want to have a female rider, or can they not even tell? They just wanted a rider, or is it the quad riding? They wanted it to, I don't know if your hair was coming out of the helmet or something like that.
Yeah, I think they always try to use a female, whether they're riding or driving or whatever. So that was cool. I got to be the girl. You could tell I was a girl, but we're wearing gear,
It's the hair coming out of the helmet. That's the only thing that literally, there you go. That's a little niche. Who knows? Maybe you can do more of that.
I know. I would love to. A lot of times they hire outside talent, people that like maybe have ridden a quad once. So it's cool for Yamaha and their agency to have people that know how to get through and like look aggressive and ride stuff. So yeah, hopefully in the future they'll call me in.
Yeah. Hey, from your moto days, can you whip? Can you do a little something if you went on a motocross track?
I like to call those butt whips.
Okay.
Like, you think you're whipping, but your butt's just off to the side a little bit. That's probably about all I got. It's funny because like racing motocross, I was always scared of jumping from day one. Like the first time my dad told me to jump a double, I was like, no way. And so it was always a struggle to get me to do those kinds of to jump, and I remember being on 85s. There was a couple of jumps where I would try to scrub and I got like decent at it, but I don't ride much motocross and I just want to get in the air and land nice and smooth. I don't want to risk it. I don't want to get crazy and land sideways. So I just keep it cool out there. But Corey Steed, one of our fellow GNCC ladies, she's awesome on a dirt bike. Her and Taylor, they scrub and everything. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, Steed, I heard, became everyone's ringer on mini bikes. Like she's like maybe the fastest mini bike rider like in America or something. Did you know this? So like everybody wants her on their team if there's a team mini bike race, like all Pastrana's stuff.
Yeah, she's crazy. She's just fearless. Like I don't know if it's her young mind or she's just probably been like that for a while, but she was just, when we did the Pastrana thing, she was sending jumps that I was like, nope, not for me, not doing that. Yeah, she's fearless. It's awesome.
Yeah, when I hear that Travis Pastrana's gang is impressed with someone like jumping, I'm like, man, she must be jumping.
Yeah, she definitely fits in with that crowd.
There you go. For you, yeah, I think maybe you found your home. Maybe the woods. Maybe that was where you're always destined to be.
Yeah, I'm truly happy in the trees.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so we'll probably see you, I'm assuming, some way at the races, whether it's a food truck or hanging out or whatever. Probably not totally done.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll be around. I don't think I'll jump into any GNCC, but I'll be around hanging out, especially the close ones.
Yeah, that's the good thing. I mean, the Ohio area, I mean, there's a decent amount that you can get to. We'll see. But you don't have any, it's not like you've lined up industry job or anything like that.
Nope. I just I don't really want to be in the industry, I'll do commercials for Yamaha, but like other than that, I don't want to, I'm just not interested in it.
Well, here's the thing. One of the first things you cited is I've been traveling for 20 some years. You're just signing up for that travel again as soon as you take the industry job. And then it's like, you might as well race.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, we kind of have our priorities of what we want it to be. We just don't have our jobs lined up.
No, that's good because otherwise you end up in too deep. Like that you like in my position, I don't have a choice now. This is where I am and I can't get out of it, even if I wanted to. So at least you're making your decision before when you still have a choice. How about that? Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Well, this has been really enlightening. Well, I guess congrats on the career. It sounds so weird to say that, right?
It sounds weird to hear it because it's been a long time.
The last race, by the way, I forgot. This was not a foregone conclusion. This was actually mathematically, and with the mud, this almost didn't work out, right?
Yeah, almost. It was
Yeah.
pretty crazy. So everyone's asking, what do you got to do to wrap up the championship? And I'm like, just win. I don't know. But then
Oh,
going into the last race, it was if Rachel Archer were to win, I would have had to have got third or better. But if Rachel didn't win, like I could have gotten fourth or whatever. So mid race, it's pouring rain. I'm like, why does it have to be this hard?
yeah.
I just wanted a nice buttery smooth track to rip on and battle with Rachel one last time. But the torrential downpours came, and I had gotten stuck a couple times and my bike wouldn't refire, and I fell back to fourth place, and I was like, oh my gosh, my championship, like I'm not going to win it. So I'm like making peace with it in my head during the race. And then my bike got back running and I was like, oh, sweet. So I see Johnny out in the woods. He's like trudging through a mud hole. He was running the line that he wanted me to take. And he had turned a corner around a bush line. And all I see is him completely crash to the ground. And I just see his feet up in the air. And I was like, oh man, Johnny fell. So I go over and he's like limping, getting up. And I was like, hey, tell Corey she should just pull over and I'll just give her a bonus. And he's like, it's fine. Rachel Guttish is winning and you're in fourth. So it's fine. And I'm like, okay. So I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, Rachel Guttish, you just win this race. Hold it together. And on the last lap, unfortunately for Rachel, I passed her. She had broken down, Rachel Guttish. And so Rachel Archer won and I was in third place. So It was a very close race.
Wow. Yeah, you don't racing for all the marbles there. Because I'm sure in a normal circumstance, you're like, yes, I can get third.
Yeah.
But with the mud, dude, who even knows?
Yeah, it was so unknown, especially with the rivers and stuff we were going through. It was like, I don't know.
Did you have to do any stuff to get the bike running, or did it just magically fix itself? Or were there some moments of you, I don't know, trying to come up with a solution? I don't know what it might be.
Yeah, so I went through this, I went down in this valley and went through a very deep water hole that I didn't know was that deep because the lap before it wasn't. And so as soon as I went through it, my bike just started blubbering and I was like, oh no. And there was this bottleneck and my bike just stalled out because I slowed down, and then it wouldn't fire. And I was like, oh my gosh. So eventually it did fire back up. I get through like probably to the half of the lap and I get stuck in this super deep rut and my bike shuts off and it wouldn't refire. And we like pull my bike out of this rut and we're just sitting there trying to get it to go. And my buddy that was racing with me in Sportsman A, he comes over and he's like, take the air filter out, like just to get air to it. And because on the Yamahas, our air filter's up high and the intakes, the water was so deep, it was just going right through the intakes. So
you're almost like handlebar, triple clamp height water.
Yes.
Oh, geez.
It was wild. And so we take the air filter out and he lifts it up and there's just water pouring out of my air filter. And I was like, oh no, I'm not going to finish. So we just squeezed the water out of the air filter. The bike started up without the air filter. And then we just stuck the air filter back on and he's like, don't let it stall. I was like, okay. And so it just got back going. And I actually did stall a couple more times, but I think because we rang it out of the water, it fired back up.
Yes, that was your Instagram post. Bike for sale, only ridden by a girl on Sundays.
Yeah. It's a good
destroyed.
deal.
Yeah, destroyed. Yeah, it was funny. During the crazy race on Sunday, I'm texting Johnny, who's in the announcer's booth, and I'm like, hey, do you think Stu Baylor has an advantage because the Yamaha's airbox is higher up? Might that help? And he's like, yes, but Becca's bike drowned out, so I don't think it actually matters when it gets super bad.
Yeah. When it was it was like, I mean, it was just so deep. There was no way. I mean, even the side air boxes probably took in a lot of water, especially in the afternoon when they were doing the crossings got even more deep. But, for our race, when you splash, like it just splashes to the side. So it doesn't really go right into your air box if you have a side, like a Kawasaki or KTM.
What a stressful way to end it. That was your final race with the title on the line and race into the mud. All right. Yeah, I think you're good. This is why that was a nice maybe reminder.
Yes.
Of why you made this decision. Enough stress in your life.
Yeah.
Cool. But wait, there's more. This episode of the show, we're not done. 2 years ago, I told up-and-coming ATV racer Hunter Hart he could come on my podcast if he got himself a podium in the pro class. He did that. I then managed to stiff-arm him for the next 2 years. And then this year, he actually won a race. So let's have him on the podcast. Now, you're probably saying to yourself, seriously, quad guy in the woods is coming on the podcast? Well, when you listen to his story, you find out it's no different than any other rider. He does make a living at this. It is a full-time riding and training deal. It's all very similar to what the bike riders go through. Actually met Hunter way back in the day when he was a youth rider and I was still one of the announcers at the GNCC races. And Hunter Hart would always tell us on the podium, "My name's Hunter Hart. I was born on Valentine's Day, just like my last name, Hart, Valentine's Day." That was his tagline back then. And then I didn't see him for like 9 years. And then next thing I know, there's some like 6 foot tall, 19-year-old who has a deep voice and is ready to win pro races. And I'm like, are you really the same kid? Are you born on Valentine's Day, same as your last name, Hart? He confirmed. He is the same guy. Let's get a little insight onto what it's like to be an ATV racer. Okay, look, I owe you this. This is Hunter Hart. You race ATVs into the GNCC series. I didn't see you for about 10 years. And you went from like dominant 8-year-old ATV youth guy. And I moved on from GNCC. And then next thing I know, it's like Hunter Hart's the next big thing, moving into the pro ranks. So we saw each other at Unadilla National, and it was like, if I get on the podium, I want to be on the podcast. Well, I really owe you now. You've gone beyond podium. Now you're winning races.
Yeah.
So welcome to the show.
Yep. It's awesome to be on, avid listener, and it's sweet to get some ATVs on here. But no, it's good. We're 2 wins in now. Got my first win in my rookie season in 19, and then 20, we our best was a third that year. And then this year we had a lot of podiums and then a win when we came back from summer break. And, now we're number 2. We're national number 2 next year, which is exciting. It's been a long road coming, and we're excited to be at this point.
Look, you probably know this and you probably don't want to think about it, but this is the way ATV GNCC has worked for about 30 years now. Somebody wins the title for the first time, and then they win for like the next 10 years, okay? I'm just telling you, this is how it goes from Barry Hawk won like 10 in a row, and then Bill Balance won like 10 in a row, and then Chris Borch won like 10 in a row. It's not 10, it's like 6, 7 each. Now Walker Fowler's winning all of them in a row. So we're always looking for, well, who's the next guy that could do what Walker did or Borch did? Does that run through your mind at all? Like, I want to be the next guy. Do you think of that?
Oh, for sure. I think about it all the time. You look at it, Bill had 9, Barry had 7 or 8.
Yeah.
8.
Yep.
I think
Something
it was 8.
like that.
And then Walker's at 7 right now, and he's, we've always been behind Walker just in age. I'm 21. I think Walker's 27 now. We came through the youth ranks and we were able to beat all his records there. And then we went into the morning clash, and that was kind of a nightmare. That we were some of the first gen of the hybrids on the ATV side, and that was just a rough road there. And then the XE2 class, we came close to tying his perfect season there. I think we had 11 wins to his 13, and it's been good. I was glad to be able to get a win my rookie season as well. Walker and I are the only 2 to do that as well, and it's good. Walker's a good buddy of mine. He really kind of took me under his wing this year and helped us out, get the bike set up, and we're good now. We make the joke that we fly in formation, and it's good to be where we're at right now.
Well, that answers my next question. I was going to say, like, then he must know that you're coming up to try to beat him. I guess you're both aware of this and you're both cool with it. He's actually helping you.
Oh yeah. I go out. Actually, Walker's mechanic, Mark Nauman, is my mechanic. He race preps all my race bikes. Both our bikes sit side by side at Mark's shop. And Walker, he lets me know. He's like, yeah, buddy, probably not going to win this weekend, but you can try. And I'm like, buddy, I'm hoping to see you at the end. He's like, I hope I don't see you. And that's just kind of the way it is. And a lot of it's shifted, at the beginning of the year, we kind of joked about it. Then midway through, I was like, oh, we're kind of like right here. And then at the end of the year, we were able to pull it together, get a win, and then just kind of rode smart the rest of the year to be number 2. And Mark and Walker were both basically telling me, they're like, buddy, just don't throw it away in the last 4. He goes, you've worked hard for this. Don't do anything dumb. Just go out there and get the points you need. And that's what we were able to do.
So even though you're going to be number 2 next year and he's number 1,
yep,
still good, still okay.
Oh yeah. We're set. Yeah, we're golden. Walker and I actually are working on a couple deals right now, kind of together. And that's the funny thing is just basically, like not really a team per se, because we don't share many of the same sponsors, but at the end of the day, the goal is for both of us to go as fast as possible and let race day play out how it's going to play out.
I'm glad you said race day, play out how it plays out. Because look, on the Supercross side, it's become the trend also where guys ride together and train together. And everybody's like, how is that possible? And like the great Alden Baker, the trainer, he's like, yeah, but most of the time the race plays out due to the way the race plays out. It's not anything we do on Tuesday that affects what happens on Saturday. I mean, it affects it, but like in the end, one guy gets a good start, one guy gets a bad start, one guy falls, one guy doesn't. In your case, one guy probably gets stuck and the other guy doesn't. The times when, how many of the races has it actually been you and Walker for 2 straight hours just banging wheels off each other? Usually a bunch of crap happens anyway, and it's not head to head for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'd say the 2 that come to mind were the Florida GNCC. I got the whole shot there. Walker led. And then I joked with him. I was like, yeah, buddy, you know, like through the mud, if you want, just let me lead. I got a good line through there. And he was like, okay, we get to the mud. And Walker like pulled over. And I was like, all right, I guess I'll lead through here. And then he just regained the lead there. And he drugged me along for about the first hour and a half there. And then the other one was at Mount Morris at High Point. I had a great start there. Walker and I were leading. We exchanged the lead probably 2-3 times. And he basically, the last lap, he kind of rolled out on me. And, you know, I ended up second there for the day. But, you know, there we were legit like nose to tail, you know, no more than 30 feet. He that day said it was like a skier behind a boat. He basically threw out some line and I held on for dear life.
Right. So you're saying 2 times in 13 rounds that it actually worked out. And 11 times you're both dealing with your own stuff.
Yeah, you know, I'm usually back there getting, you know, usually last off the line or something like that. You know, the ones that when you're like, yeah, somebody gets a bad start, you know, that's me. I'm the one with the bad starts. But we've been working on that. Just you know, I figure if I can't get the good starts, we got to manage to come through the pack, and that's what we did at our first round back when I got the win. Is we came from legitimately dead last on the line to the win, which was nice, you know. And it's a lot of work to do it that way, but it's, you know, sometimes the way the cards go, and we're gonna work on those starts this winter and figure hopefully we can get those dialed in.
You can say that you don't get the starts, but okay, there's a dead engine start. And I know that in the ATV side, people are not just rolling them right off the showroom floor. There's a lot of work that goes into these. So how much of it is tricks of the trade equipment-wise starts?
It's a lot, you know, you've got to figure it out. And I mean, we can tweak, you know, we run a lot of the programming stuff. We can literally go into software and program, and it's just finding, I mean, we're not changing big, you know, we're not going like a turn and a half here. We're going like tenths of a turn, which is what makes it so finicky and so touchy. And it's, and you know, the dead engine starts, they're tough because it's completely dead engine. And it breaks down to like at what point you turn your bike off and what point you turn your key on affects how the bike's going to start. So, I mean, you're dealing with all these other factors other than just, all right, gate drop, green flag, go.
Right.
You're dealing with, all right, 10 seconds, this, that, this, and the other. Okay. Now you're at like 6 seconds figure. Okay. You ready to go? Okay, go. And then you go.
Right. Yeah. So equipment and all these little pieces of experience, it all adds up. It's not just you're a good starter or a bad starter. There's all these little
exactly.
variables. Yep. Okay. So explain to me on the ATV side, the equipment part of it. We had a brief run, unfortunately, where like factory teams are really coming in. I think Walker's still a Yamaha guy to a degree. But what are you doing? Like, do you literally buy stuff and then you have to build it yourself? Like, how does that all work? Yeah, equipment wise.
Yeah, absolutely. So I go to my local dealership, and unfortunately, we're not a Yamaha off-road. We are my parents own Ithaca Recreation Sports, and we sell Yamaha watercrafts. We do not sell Yamaha ATVs. There's a dealer too close to us, but they hooked me up phenomenally. You know, I just bought 2 brand new Yamahas off the showroom floor. Literally picked them up a couple weeks ago, and you know, we literally will strip them down to a frame and a swing arm, and that's about all we'll use in the motor. And then other than that, everything else is aftermarket. I mean, I'm talking A-arm, shocks, sometimes subframes, you know, we change literally everything that you can. And I mean, bigger tanks, bigger valves, bigger, just everything is just gusseted and stronger for off-road. I mean, we run different Nerf bars, we run different wheels, tires, chains, rock rings, skid plates, just literally, I mean, it'd be easier to say, what do you use than what don't you use?
Yeah. The frame, the swing arm, and the cylinder and cases, but the motor is completely gone through as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah. I mean, they're torn down completely. We change literally almost everything out of the motors and put in true on race parts.
Yeah. And for people that don't understand, maybe on the motocross side, maybe your people are used to that on a motorcycle, but in off-road, dude, guys are running stock motors on 450s on a bike.
Oh yeah. So I used to race motorcycles actually. I won the GNCC C class in 16. So we've got a little bit of a biker background. Literally my bike had an oversized tank on it,
Mhm.
and it had a pipe and a stabilizer.
Yep.
That was all we did to it. Other than and we put bib mooses in so you didn't get flats off road.
Sure.
Other than that, nothing. We didn't change a single thing on. I mean, I literally rolled it to the line and just rode the thing. Like no maintenance, literally no maintenance at all. I don't think I ever changed a clutch in the thing. And I just rode the thing. I put gas in it, and it was good to go. And it was just like, sick. This is easy.
Yeah. So on the ATV side, do you have to be just as much of like almost like race cars where you've got to be a fabricator, you got to think equipment wise, you've got to work on equipment, you've got to be processing in your mind, like, I tried this, it feels like that. Is that a big part of your process, like learning the equipment and the mechanics behind it all?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's where it comes in awesome to have Mark and those guys. Is Mark knows exactly, like, I can describe to Mark what the bike's doing. And then Mark will be like, all right, buddy, well, is it doing this? And I'm like, I think so. And then he'll be like, okay, and he'll change some stuff. But usually I'm like, dude, I have no idea like what's going on. Like, it's easier for me just to justify that I need to change the way that I'm riding versus be like, oh, okay, we need to tweak the bike. Because I'm like, oh yeah, the bike worked fine 2 weeks ago. Why doesn't it work well today? I'm like, what changed?
I've always wondered, because we were talking about these championship win streaks that these ATV guys get. I almost wonder if it's like when you figure out that formula and there's a million variables when you think about how your equipment, you can change so much stuff. I almost wonder if that's it. Like once you get that formula, it's so hard for someone else to figure it out because you're dealing with like 300 different things, not just revalving your forks.
Yeah, exactly. That's the big thing is I think that's what it comes down to is just figuring out the little pieces here and the little pieces there, because I don't know how many bike guys know this, but we run tire balls. So tire balls are like, basically they're a little smaller than a dodgeball, but we put them inside the wheels and we run 13 of them. And I mean, not only do we deal with tire pressure then, but we deal with tire ball pressure. So we can change not only like the tires, we run very low air pressure, like, I mean, pound and a half, sometimes two, depending on the day. But in the balls, then you can run any tire ball pressure you want to compensate for that lost air pressure to affect the way the bike handles. So I mean, not only are you able to change, I mean, you're literally splitting hairs at that point. I mean, you've got so much possibility you can change just inside the tire that you could go crazy just trying different things in the tire. And then you get, as well as I do, some of these guys get so deep into like changing something, then they're like, dude, I have no idea what worked, what didn't work. We've spent 10 days trying to change this tire. Like just go ride the thing and just be happy with it.
Yeah. Do you have like a notebook for all this stuff? Like what's your process can you look at like 2019, 2021 and all the changes and all the things you've worked on?
Yeah. I mean, I've got a black notebook at the house, and ironically, I wasn't greatest at taking notes early on, but we've definitely gotten better and better about it. And I'm not one to want to tweak and change stuff during the week. I'm like, nah, I'm good. I like that. Like, I like all my stuff to be identical. I'm not one to go down a rabbit hole and be like, oh, I think we could shave a tenth of a second here if we change this, and this. I'm like, no, I'm good. I want to just go ride the bike and just be like, all right, if it's going off a little bit, just let me change my riding style for the day, and we'll go from there.
Okay, on the ATV side, this is the part that I think people are trying to figure out. Yeah, so you're not like a factory guy, but you're at the top of really maybe the biggest ATV series, maybe ATV motocross. It's kind of a toss-up. You're winning races. You could win the title at some point. Can you make money doing this, or will you if you're the champ? How does that all work? Because it's not like people are just handing you quads. You have to spend money, obviously, to even go. So how does that part work?
Yeah, no, I mean, you definitely make money. There's probably 5 or 6 guys that are making a comfortable living at this, Walker, Adam, Chris, ironically, Johnny and a couple other guys like that are making a solid living. Like they've got a house, they've got a family.
And that's paid for by racing.
They've got normal
paid for by racing.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
100% paid for by racing. They've got normal person life. I'll call it a normal enough. And but no, it's a lot of outside sponsors that help a lot. Like we, it's not like the Supercross money and stuff like that, because we don't have the factory teams in it like that, but we do have the trickle down effect as well. Like Maxis, Fly, a lot of those guys help out a ton. And then it's just outside, being creative with getting outside people. Like one of the stories that I like is I managed to get into Outback headquarters. Like I had an Outback deal, like Outback Steakhouse deal.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah. I met the CEO. I met their marketing team. I met all these guys. Yeah. I legit had a 3-hour meeting one day with them about ATV racing. They were like, Hunter, not to sound like this, but we had no idea this existed. And I'm like,
Sure.
a lot of people don't. I'm like, and they gave me a food card. I had a food allowance per month and everything.
Shoot, I need to hang
Yeah.
out with you more often.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the funny part is like it was super cool. Like they invited me out to some of the soft openings and stuff like that, and it worked well because I spent a lot of time in Florida in the winter, and their headquarters were down in Tampa. So I mean, it was only about a 40-minute drive for me. So I went in, and I mean, I was super nervous going in, but they were super chill, and it was awesome. I mean, like I've still got their contact to this point, and I mean, they were super cool, and they were like, dude, this is awesome. They're like, we've never seen crowds this excited about anything. We sponsored football events and everything like that. And I showed them some video from the Ironman, and they're like, this is amazing. They're like, this is the craziest thing we've ever seen. And I'm like, I know, right? And they're like, yeah, let's figure out a deal. And it worked out well. I was super pumped on it, and it was cool. It's one of the cooler ones that I've gotten.
I wonder if, look, the ATV sales, and a lot of it's side by sides now, but in general, it's not quite mainstream, but it's darn close. Like they sell,
Yeah.
The industry sells a lot of ATVs. A lot of people ride them. A lot of people have them. Maybe they're not racers, but they own them, especially when you throw in side by sides. I wonder if there's almost, in some ways, for a mainstream company like that, more of an appeal in some ways, because somebody probably has a number that there's like probably 10 million ATVs in America out there.
Yeah.
There's probably 1 million dirt bikes.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about the side by sides and the ATVs is that it's more of a, I want to say, not a family atmosphere, because the whole sport's about family, but I mean, you're able to take your buddies out. Like I've got a side by side at home, and I mean, literally, you call your buddy up, and like once we're done doing motos for the day on the ATVs, I'll be like, dude, you want to go like trail ride in the side by side? He'll be like, okay, and I mean, we'll just legit, you can drive the thing anywhere. You put a winch on the thing, and you just go, and that's the easy thing about it is that instead of being like two up, you can sit side by side, and that's what just makes it easy. And I mean, like I was out west for an event that Greater Zion had me out for, and I mean, just the amount of side by sides, I was like, hey, how do we get to the trails? They're like, oh, this is road legal. I'm like, this Razor 1000 is road legal. They're like, yeah, it's got turn signals, a horn, and headlights. It's road legal here. And I'm like, you're kidding, right? They're like, no, people drive these as their milk getters. Go to the movies. And they go, hell, half the people don't even have a real vehicle. They just have two side by sides. And legit, I drove by houses that had 2-3 side by sides sitting in the front yard. And I was like, okay, I guess that's how it is. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Like you guys actually represent a pretty wide audience. Much wider so than motocross, which is really pretty niche. So that helps.
And I think that the appeal to Outback there, Tommy, is that it's their demographic. It's their 9 to 5, they're blue collar guys that just want to grab a dinner with the family on the way home from the trails. It's easy for them to pull in, grab a solid meal, and then they're off. And that's what I think a lot of people could touch into that our sport doesn't, is like, dude, our sport likes to eat, like we're a meat and potato kind of sport. And I think that a lot of these steakhouses and stuff like that, the chain ones, you could be like, hey, come to them with a good proposal. And most of them are going to be like, yeah, this is a no brainer. Like you get 30,000 people, 1,500 racers, and you guys all come as a family. Yeah. That makes sense. Like, let's do it. Where do I sign?
And you're all driving home at some point and probably going to get dinner on the way home.
Absolutely.
So this is, you can make a living doing it, but it is a hustle because you got to build your own stuff. Obviously, you have to ride and train. You work on your own programs. It's not like it's just you ride fast, a factory team comes, and the business part is handled. So it must be pretty busy, but at the same time, I would assume you're okay with all that because it all sounds exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty cool with it. I mean, I'd love to see some of the other manufacturers get back in the sport. I mean, there's a demand for it. You can just go to the local racetrack. I think Ironman this weekend, they had 500 ATVs in one race in the morning class.
Wow.
And then I think we had 250 or 300 in the afternoon. I mean, we had almost 1,100 ATVs at one race. I mean, there's a need for it. And I think that it just gets overlooked a lot. Just because the factories are like, well, we left here because of this, but it's a different world than it was 10 years ago. And I think that if the factory guys they don't even have to really reinvent the wheel. They just have to bring something out and it'll sell. They bring anything out that's halfway competitive, we'll make it a competitive machine, you know, and that's the big thing, is just being able to have units, because competition breeds competition.
Yeah. So the
You and I
Yamaha
both
that you're
know
riding right now, like you go to pick up two at the shop, but they sell pretty
Yes.
quick.
Oh, they're on a pre-order only list. Yeah. Like my two machines, I ordered in April, I think, is when we were waiting for the 2022s to come in.
Wow. Wow. So that's it.
Yeah.
Like they don't sit on the showroom floor.
No, definitely not. No, nothing has been sitting, which is the norm in this sport right now. Is, I mean,
True.
you literally are on a waiting list for bikes, but especially just there's no ATVs to be had, because thankfully Yamaha still produces a new ATV. So they're the only game in town. So, you know, people are just buying them to have a new machine. You know, the other latest OEM stopped producing in 2014. So, I mean, that's a big range if you're trying to build a race machine.
Right. So even the pandemic obviously has made everything crazy, sales and demand. But even in 2019, it was still hard to get them. Like they were still selling them. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they're always, you know, the aftermarket market for ATVs, like the Craigslist finds, that's where it's gone kind of crazy. But I mean, the dealerships have still kind of held pretty strong. You know, I mean, they'd maybe have one on the floor, but they didn't have like a whole fleet of them. You know, you couldn't go in and be like, I want to buy 10 of them. But like, well, we've got 2.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Okay. The last thing is the riding training part. You said you're actually working with Steve Hatch, who's pretty known on the bike side, was a great GNCC bike guy in his own right, and won a national enduro title. So look, this is the craziest thing to me. When I first came into GNCC 20 years ago, the ATV guys, bro, they just showed up on Saturday and raced. Nobody practiced during the week. They raced their way into shape. Like they would literally get fitter by round 5 because they rode 4 times on the weekends at the first 4 rounds. I know it's way gnarlier now. So what is your program like fitness wise and practice wise?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a full 9 to 5. I go over and work with Steve and his wife Denise on a lot of the mental side and the physical side of the training and stuff like that, just so that I can stay out of my own way and don't get too deep into the head case as well. The off season, you know, we've pretty much we've toned back a ton. I haven't ridden since Ironman, and just kind of to keep it fun and alive, because I mean it's a lot to go in. But once we go back to Florida, you know, it's a lot of bicycling down there. I'm in the Mecca, you know, I'm right in that Brooksville, Dade City area, and it works well. You know, there's a lot of guys out there, so it's funny. You know, you'll go out there, you'll have some Strava times, and you'll see CR22, and you'll be like, oh, I know that guy. And just a great group of guys out there that I get to mountain bike with. And but no, it's a lot of riding. You know, usually we ride 4 or 5 days a week, and then we spend, you know, hours on the bicycles as well, and then the gym workouts as well. But the biggest thing is that we're not two 30-minute motos. You know, it's a 2-hour one moto. And, you know, I mean, to build a 2-hour base, you've got to almost be training for 4 hours so that you can sprint the 2 hours. So, I mean, you're just, it's that big snowball effect, is you can't just jump into it cold feet and be like, all right, we're ready to go. You'll be like, dude, we're not ready to go. You know, you need to build off up to that full 2 hours. And I mean, it's hard to go out and do a 2-hour moto and be like, all right, that was sweet, let me do it again tomorrow. You know, you've got to break it up a lot. And that's what Steve was helping me with, is just breaking it up instead of just doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. He's like, Hunter, you're gonna go insane. And I'm like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I learned that when I first came in. The ATV guys, like I said, they were just showing up on weekends. The bike guys were like, yeah, we train full time, but we don't ride for 3 hours straight. Like, you can't do that on a Tuesday. You train to be ready to do it on race day, but you're probably going to lose focus and crash if you try to do that every single day of the week.
Oh, absolutely. You know, we can't. I mean, here, you good?
Yeah, we're good. Good. Yeah.
I mean, you can only build a practice track so long. And, you know, like we spend a lot of time at Croom, myself and Adam McGildo, you know, him and I have been pretty much co-training partners for the last 4 or 5 years down at Florida. So, I mean, we can only, you know, like we get about a 15-minute loop there, and, you know, to do a 2-hour moto on a 15-minute lap, you know, you're looking at, what is that? 12 laps. You know, I mean, you do 12 laps and you're like, all right, great. Now I got to come back, do this again tomorrow. We're 24 laps in. I'm like, dude, you know, you go nuts. And we break it up a lot there. And that's the nice thing is the free riding there. I mean, if you've never been to Croom, absolutely amazing. It's 2,600 acres of just pure ATV motorcycle heaven. I mean, literally you go there and they don't care what you do. As long as you're not drinking and like building some ridiculous like cliff jump in the woods. They don't care. They're like, just be a smart rider and just go have fun. And they're cool with it. You know, a lot of the moto guys will actually train there. You know, like RJ used to have a track on the outside of Croom, like legit. RJ's Supercross property was on the corner of Croom. Like we could drive up and see RJ doing motos out there.
Wow. Yeah. So
Yeah.
these races nowadays, you guys are pushing that hard. Like that fitness thing, you're not going to win your race. It comes down to who's in shape. You have to be in shape.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. If you're just showing up on a Saturday and ready to give it your all, you're going to be 13th, you know, in class. You probably won't even break the top 20 overall. Like if you're just showing up and riding 13 times a year, you're not going to make the cut anymore.
Well, that's it. That's the whole point we're trying to show here. So on the ATV side, you can make a living. It is a full-time job. You have to train and be in shape. You guys are not weekend warriors. You're just professional racers.
No, not anymore.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I even left regular school my sophomore year. I left and I did cyber school 2 years online. And then I actually was in cyber school online college as well. And, you know, I mean, you've got to get creative with stuff. I mean, people aren't just going to walk up to you and be like, oh, here's $100,000 contract. You know, you've got to find, you know, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 contracts here. And I think that's what gets a lot overlooked is that these people are looking for a golden egg instead of looking for little golden seeds along the way. And that's the big thing with the whole sport is just is think outside the box. You know, I mean, how many people have approached Outback Steakhouse, you know, and that's the big thing is just finding these people that are interested in the sport, because at some point, you know, a lot of these older guys that are at the head of these companies, they rode motorcycles as children. You know, they have a deep love for the outdoors somewhere. You just have to be able to tap into it.
Okay, that's going to do it for our show. Thanks to Onyx Maps, thanks to Yoshimura, and thanks to Cardo Systems for their backing of this program. And we'll be back with more GNCC stories. We're going to talk to the new champion, Ben Kelly, and his long road from New England, which is usually an enclave. Very rarely do off-road racers out of New England eventually move their way into GNCC territory. And now not only Ben, but several of his friends have moved to factory rider status. And those three worked together in a hellacious mud race at the GNCC finale 2 weeks ago to help Ben win the title. So we'll talk to Ben about his journey to GNCC, what it was like to battle Stu Beller for the championship this year, and then the drama of the final round. And then also going back and racing at Southwick, his local track, the week after he won the GNCC title. Keep on listening and watching. It's the Racer X Exhaust podcast. Thanks, everybody.